favorite sports reporter. Turn it all the way up.
Yes. What's going on, everybody? Yes. What's going on, everybody? You already know what time it is. It is me. He is I, and I am him. I am he that they call the Alpha Male. Welcome to Friday, everybody. It's a happy Friday, rainy Friday at that. I mean, make sure y'all being safe out there. Of course, there's a lot of rain and stuff coming over to the East Coast. And for those of you who do watch this show or do keep up with me, I'm in the Atlanta area, so of course you already know how that goes. You already know how that goes. So people can't drive out here in these streets. Of course, I got my ATL Atlanta Hawks shirts on because they will be playing on TV tonight. They're gonna be playing against the the Pacers? Yeah, the Pacers looking pretty good this year. Looking really good this year. I ain't gonna hold you. Atlanta just looking abysmal in my honest opinion, and in all facets of sports right now, except the Atlanta Braves. Hopefully, we can talk to some Atlanta Braves insiders when the season gets started. I think it should be some few weeks before they get into spring ball down in Florida. Pitchers and catchers to be reporting, things of that such. So we are excited, but man, the last couple of weeks, well, no, last couple of days has just been who. Now later on in the show, of course, you already know we got my guy Jarvis Davis. He will be stopping in, and we're just gonna dissect, of course, the Atlanta Falcons. We all know what happened to the Atlanta Falcons. We all know what happened to Arthur Smith, and we all know what happened with the Saints game. So we're gonna talk about all of that. But one of the things that I know for a fact he's going to definitely dissect is the fact that our general manager was not there at the press conference. So I got a lot of questions I want to ask Jarvis, but definitely got to go into the recent news, breaking news, I guess. We all know that Nick Saban, good old Nick, has left the Alabama Crimson Tide. He has retired. Now, depending upon where you stand in the situation of your perspective or your viewpoint, some of you might say, "Oh, well, he can't necessarily beat the NIL, or he's tired of these students having all the money, or whatever, or he don't want the students to have all the power, whatever." However you look at this, you dig what I'm saying? Nick Saban is gone now. He is no longer the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide. Now it is the former Washington Huskies coach, former Washington head coach, former Washington Huskies head coach Kalen DeBoer. I definitely got to get Andy Bucker in on this. He's now headed to Alabama. He is now the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide that just broke today. Just broke today. You know what I'm saying? He is now the head coach, and I'm pretty interested to see how this goes, because we all know that the kids go not only where the money is, but where the names are. We've already had a couple of guys who have already not denounced, but stepped away or backed away from their letter of intent with Alabama. So we'll get into that. But with Nick Saban being gone from the organization or from the school, I want to say, it's pretty interesting. Mike Norvell, he was also up for the job. Steve Sarkisian, he was up for the job, or was being contacted by Alabama to take on the head coaching position. Both said no, and I don't blame them. Just being completely honest, it's going to be very hard. And you are listening to Alpha Male Sports. We're going to talk about two coaching positions that have become open and now become filled very quickly. Um, we all know that it's going to be extremely difficult to replace those guys. We all know that it's going to be extremely difficult to replace, not even replace, but to replicate such a winning, how do I put it, a winning culture, if you will. You dig what I'm saying? Of course, the news that I'm talking about, of course, is in the NFL. You know that Coach Bill Belichick, he's now gone. And of course, Nick Saban, he's gone. We all remember when Bill Belichick and Coach Nick Saban both coached on the same coaching staff when they were with the Cleveland Browns. And of course, Nick Saban went on to win a national championship with LSU, also went on to win a multiple national championships with Alabama. Bill Belichick, he would go on, he would win a plethora of championships with the New England Patriots. But before he got there, he was with the New York Jets, with Bill Parcells, and then so on and so forth. So you get where this is going. First of all, let me because I was so quick to jump on here. Let me go ahead and edit this real quick, get this up out of here because this is not what this is supposed to say. And you are listening to Alpha Male Sports. It's good old Friday. Let's just put it like that. Good old Friday. Good old Friday. And y'all see how I'm just editing stuff up. Hey man, it's a good day, man. I'm excited to be here with you guys. I'm excited to talk to you guys. So real quick, um, let me go ahead and just go through these coaching vacancies, if you will. You dig? We all know that Black Monday, this past Monday, is every coach with a losing record in the NFL's worstest day. They hate this day. Any coach that is on a losing team in the NFL, they hate Black Monday because that's when the pink slips are headed out. That's when everything basically goes downhill for those guys. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay. So first we got what? Arthur Smith. We all know about Arthur Smith. You dig what I'm saying? He lost. Well, he lost big time, 48 to what? 17 against the Saints, and he thought that was the end of his career. Well, he knew that was the end of his career, but he thought that was the catalyst. So that was the why they got rid of him. Not even the case. So of course, Mike Smith, the biggest firing this past Monday. They didn't even wait till the next day. He was gone by the time I woke up. After a terrible last 2 weeks, really the entire season, owner Arthur Blank and CEO Rich McKay seemingly had no other choice. Either that or they were going to lose the fan base, which I believe that they already have. Mike Vrabel, he was gone from the Tennessee Titans. He's another firing that kind of was somewhat of a surprise to me, but after a couple underperforming seasons, here's the thing. I do believe Mike Vrabel can possibly find a job. We'll just see how this coaching carousel spins around. We all know Bill Belichick, arguably the most amicable firing and also the quickest replacement of Coach Bill Belichick, or the quickest replacement of any coach, period. Gerard Mayo is now the head coach of the New England Patriots. He was a former player, so that is pretty cool. Ron Rivera, unfortunately, he is left, or he has been fired from the Washington Commanders. I have to make sure I say that correctly. The entire Jaguar staff. Okay, Coach Doug Peterson, he has fired 9 total assistants. 9 total assistants. He said either you or me. From that, we got Antonio Pierce, who I believe the Raiders should bring him back full time as the head coach. He's young. The people like him. The players like him. They believe in him. Let's bring this young man back. Pete Carroll, of course, after 14 seasons on the job, Pete Carroll is done as the Seahawks head coach, and now he is moving off the sideline into an advisory role on that team. We got Brandon Staley. No one really cares about the Chargers. Frank Reich. That was unfortunate how in Indiana he had a positive showing or somewhat of a good coaching history or whatnot, multiple playoff appearances. But then unfortunately, when he got down to Carolina, it just all fell to crap. But let me not pander any longer, because I definitely want to talk to somebody that definitely knows more about this situation, and he's no stranger to this show. If you guys watch me and you guys dig what I do, you know how important this young man is. Brother Jarvis, what's the word, brother? How you feeling, man?
I'm doing well, sir. How about you?
Oh, okay. All right. You're doing well, so you're going to put on the professional voice today, I see, huh?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. We got a lot of questions to go ahead and jump into, man. We got a lot to get into today. First off, guys, make sure that you guys follow Jarvis on all of his social media platforms, on all of his social media places. You can find him on IG, of course, at Jarvis D90, but most definitely you can also find this guy on Locked
Locked
On
on sports.
Sports,
Yes.
Locked
On
On
that thing.
Sports.
Not
You
in,
dig what I'm
on.
saying?
Yeah. It's a difference. You
Yes,
know the
sir.
difference between being on and in. I'm sure.
We do know after all of these coaching is do you find it quite funny? And I think this is going to be the first questions I want to dig with you first.
Okay.
Is it kind of weird to you that Alabama and the Patriots positions was quite surprising that they fired, well, not fired, but that Nick Saban said he's retiring, Bill Belichick and their GM, not general manager, but the owner of the Patriots, they said, we'll just separate, we'll part ways. We understand. Great 24 years. Thank you for your service. Here's a pen for your pension. Mm-hmm. But not even 24 hours and the job's already filled.
Well, that's kind of how it works. You're able to do things like that when you put in certain people's contract that, hey, they're going to take over as soon as Bill Belichick retires or they decide to part ways. And shout out to Gerard Mayo. Like, can I just say this? This is a safe space, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's totally
just you and I talking,
right? No one's watching. No one's watching.
I'm just kidding. No one's watching. To see a black man sitting there waiting to take a white man's position. That is some pretty good. And also have it in writing. He had it in writing.
It's pretty heavy.
He had it in writing to say, hey, man, I'm about to take over. So, yeah, the Patriots hiring a man named Gerard. I know people say Jared, but the man named Gerard. I'm calling him Gerard. Mom named Gerard. I'm calling him Gerard. So
you already know.
It's like Terrell or Terrell. No, Terrell. Your name is Terrell, sir. But, yeah. It's cool to see, all jokes aside, though, it's really cool to see a guy like Gerard Mayo be able to take over as the head coach for the New England Patriots. Now, there are a lot of expectations that will come with it, and I'm rooting for him because when you think about taking over after a legend, like we're seeing, like with Alabama, it's funny that you mentioned that those two jobs came open within a 24-hour time frame, and to replace a legend, man, it is some big shoes to fill. And when you're talking about, Nick Saban winning all those national championships, 7 to be exact, 6 at Alabama, and 1 at LSU. So
for sure,
when you have a guy stepping into that role, it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure.
Sure.
So shout out to Gerard Mayo being able to say, you know what, I'm cool, I'm ready. And for him to be a former player too, that's how I know I'm getting old. I'm watching guys who played the game. I saw him in college. I saw him playing in the NFL, saw him retire, and now I'm seeing them coaching.
I mean, look at Antonio Pierce. Again, another person. Antonio Pierce.
Same thing.
Linebacker. And the likelihood of Las Vegas bringing him on, I would hope that the Las Vegas Raiders would see some type of benefit to him as I mean, he has the locker room. He has the support of the players. He has the support of the players.
I agree.
I mean, what instead of hearing, all right, man, I just want to say great game. And no, he's just there. He's sticking it with the guys. Hey, Raider, screaming Raiders from the top of his lungs. Yeah. What guy have you seen do that? And then on top of
the man was raised in Compton. That's all he knows.
Right. But
here's the thing, though.
Okay.
Here's the thing, though. Walk with me. Talk with me here. Like, when you look at what Mark Davis has done, he just can't help himself. Rich Bisaccia, the guy who was the interim coach last time they fired their coach, he did an excellent job. Did a good job. Everybody who knew anything about football, knew anything about continuity, knew anything about being in sync with that locker room, said that should be the guy. They should hire that guy.
For sure.
And here we are saying the same exact thing. Who do they hire? Josh McDaniels. The antithesis of continuity. The antithesis of locker room being in sync. Like, everybody was excited like little kids when they fired Josh McDaniels during the season. Everybody. Sure. And they weren't even quiet about it. Because, sometimes guys have a certain level of respect or guys don't want to
keep their mouth shut.
So, they keep their mouth shut and they'll kind of give you the generic answer. No, not with Josh McDaniels. These guys were like, yeah, it was time. It's time to, be able to move on and all that stuff. So, I just don't think Mark Davis is going to make the right decision. Because when he's had the opportunity to do it in the past, what has he done? What he wanted to do.
So, to your point, right? And let's transition here because this is
Mhm.
slightly the whole reason I wanted to talk to you about this. You know what I'm saying? Because we know the playoffs have started this weekend.
Mhm.
Um, Pretty excited about that. You know, we're not going to get into that just yet, but the Atlanta Falcons, right? And we've
Mhm.
talked earlier this season. We've
Yes.
discussed it, and we've dived into it. Let me go ahead. Just come, don't come, lean in closer if you will. Okay,
I
just
got
lean in. Yeah,
you.
right. Yeah, that way.
Oh, that's close. Yeah. Mhm.
Right. With has Arthur Blank and Rich McKay lost the fan base in Atlanta?
Yes.
Mm.
And here's why I said because I was actually at the press conference when
Right.
Rich McKay and Arthur Blank and not Terry Fono were doing their press conference.
You notice I didn't mention him, right?
There's no reason to.
Right.
There's no reason to mention him at
Correct.
this moment. There's no reason to mention him at this moment because we probably know it just as much as he does about what his role is going forward. And we'll get to that a little bit later. But let me I want to speak on this whole Rich McKay Arthur Blank thing.
Correct.
And the thing that was so eye-opening about the presser was the fact that Rich McKay basically came out and said that, yeah, I'm not running day-to-day stuff, but my input matters.
Mm.
My input matters as to what they do on a day-to-day. And for a guy like Rich McKay to have that type of input at this point in his career,
Right.
or
Right.
whatever it is, because I don't even know. I'm still trying to
I
figure
mean,
out
he
what's
I
his
would assume he
official
get.
role.
I would
And
assume he
he was
gets out
very
of the bed and just says, "Oh, yeah, that's a good one." Nah,
y-
that's not a good one. Like,
that's what I'm saying. So
right.
here, so for me to hear what fans have been kind of rumbling about or kind of underlying saying, hey, Rich McKay still running this doggone team. How? And I used to defend it. I was like, man, there's no way. No way. They said a couple years ago that, he was moving away from the football side of things, that he was handling other stuff, stadium and all, whatever. He's handling all that. But we found out earlier this week that that was not the case. This dude is giving his two,
His
three,
2 cents.
50 cents. 50
Right.
cents, probably 40 cents.
Right.
We don't know. 40 cents, 30 cents, and saying, hey, man, this what you might need to do, or this what you might not need to do. And for fans to hear that, and for me to hear that, it's kind of sad, to be honest with you, because what has he done to be able to have that type of clout? Like really?
Yeah.
This man last first round pick was Jamal Anderson, not the running back. I'm talking about the defensive
Mm,
end.
mm.
That was his last first round pick. That man gets a promotion for being bad at being a general manager.
Because you know what's so interesting. We blame.
So
Well,
yeah,
let's
that's
not say
why
blame.
that's why I feel like they've
Yeah.
they've lost this fan base.
So
Like
I'm
they
gonna
have
read some
no
names.
faith. I
I'm
have
gonna
no
read.
faith that they're gonna make the right hire.
I'm gonna read some names out to you because I know it's gonna
Okay.
definitely stick to you in a way, right?
Mhm.
Since let's say '97, right? But no, let's go back a little bit further, right? We all know about Jerry Glanville, the Grits Blitz, and stuff like that. Deion Sanders,
Mhm.
MC Hammer on the sidelines. I think that was possibly the most galvanizing figurehead for the Atlanta Falcons. We all know. I mean, even to that degree, I was born in '88, so I only saw or knew of Jerry Glanville when I got older. I didn't know who. I didn't know nothing, no nothing, right?
Right, right, right.
But then we go to June Jones. You dig? June Jones,
Mhm.
okay. He was 48 and 19 as a coach. As for the Falcons, great. We move on to Dan Reeves. 109 to 49, the greatest coaching, I guess, record for the Atlanta Falcons so far, right?
And Arthur Blank didn't hire him.
At all. Arthur Blank hadn't even come into the picture until
Yeah,
after the fact.
right. And essentially they
Way
fired him.
right. Basically because and let's point that out. Why
Yeah.
did he fire him? Because when Mike Vick messed up his ankle in a preseason game. Now let's call it out. Dan Reeves was dead wrong for that. You know what I'm saying? I know he wanted to prove a point to say, "Hey, I run this team. You don't." You dig what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So it was almost
Yeah.
like a struggling match. And in the end, Arthur Blank won. We go to Wade Phillips, of course, in that same year. Wade Phillips ended up becoming the
The
coach.
interim,
Yeah, the interim head coach. He only won 3 games, lost 2. We get it, right? Jim Mora, he was looked at as the guy that was gonna piece the Mike Vick experience together, right?
right?
The West Coast offense, it was perfect with Steve Young out in San Francisco. Jim Mora's father was a coach at one point as well, so we figured, hey, the coaching tree works that way as well. That didn't work. He went 48-26, went to an NFC championship,
Which not bad.
lost.
It's not
Right,
bad.
right.
They beat Green Bay. They beat Green Bay at home, which had never
Which
happened
had
before.
never happened
Well, there were
before.
some moments. There were some moments there. Yeah.
Right. And we see, and to this point, when I'm naming this list, we've seen flashes of not greatness, but outside of
Pretty
mediocrity.
doggone good.
Right. Um, from that we got Mike Smith. 2008 we got Mike Smith. Now this was interesting, and again he did pretty well as good, did pretty good as well.
Mhm.
Went to what, 2 NFC South championships, 2010, 2012, 4 playoff berths, 1 AP NFL Coach of the Year in 2008. He made it to the NFC Championship. Unfortunately, did he make it to the NFC Championship? Yes, he did.
Yes, in
He made it to the
2012,
NFC. Yes, he made it to the NFC
made to the
Championship.
playoffs in his first year
Yeah,
in '08. Yeah.
and
So
this
yeah,
was actually this was
Matt Ryan's
also
rookie
a
year.
rookie
Yeah.
his rookie year and Matt Ryan's rookie year. So again,
Yep.
we see positive actions, but then, he's gone in 2014. Things just didn't hold up. Dan Quinn, decent, actually really good. We got to the Super Bowl,
Super Bowl in the second year.
melted.
Can't deny that.
I mean, completely melted in the second half.
Mhm.
And I would go back to Dan Quinn in just a second. But after that, of course, we had Raheem Morris in 2020. He went 11-4. And then after that, it was Arthur Smith. Yeah, we all know how that goes. He was what, 51-21. You know what I'm saying? 7-10, 7-10, 7-10, 7-10 for three straight years was just unimpressive. But
Mhm.
with Dan Quinn, out of all of the names that I've named, I feel like Dan Quinn could have possibly been the long-term coach if he did not get wrapped up in the funk of Thomas Dimitrov. If
Mhm.
because of the fact that he had to come into a situation where Thomas Dimitrov was already on the chopping block, but
Yeah.
not Arthur Smith, Arthur Blank said, I want to stick beside him. Dan Quinn said, you know what, I'm gonna stick beside him as well.
And Rich McKay.
And tell it like it
Come
is.
on now, stop
And
playing
and
around with it. Yeah.
and so with all of that, Dan Quinn, I believe, one, will be able to find himself in another coaching position sooner than later. But at the same time, too, he really could have that could have been, how we always, they always say married men always got that girl that could have been.
Mhm.
He's that one. He's that could have been.
Hmm.
He's that could have been. And to list all of these names, it, I'm not surprised that the fan base is tired of Arthur Blank and Rich McKay.
I mean, I look at it from this standpoint though. Like I've been one that been a proponent of like being clear and concise what your role is.
Mhm.
And it seemed like they adopted this whole collaborative piece when they decided to keep Thomas Dimitrov and fired Mike Smith. And Thomas Dimitrov was kind of semi throwing Mike Smith
Throwing
under the
people under
bus
the
and assistant
bus.
coaches. And hey, I didn't get that player. That was, Brian Cox.
What
Like,
what
okay.
was that question that you asked him? And he came up with the stupidest tagline. I mean, that ran for about a year. A
Yeah, it
year. Over.
did. Nah, I was just simply asking him about, re-signing the player, and he kind of explained what the player's contract situation was, which I already understood. And he was just saying, do your research. I was like, well, I already know what a restricted,
Free
I know
agent
what
does, yeah.
I know what a type of contract he had, whatever. So I'm just asking if you doggone gonna resign him. And then what happened a month later, they end up resigning him. So whatever. But I think that going back to this whole collaborative piece, a lot of times when stuff goes awry, what people are gonna start doing, they're gonna start trying to save their behind. And that's what Thomas Dimitrov did.
Right.
And I feel like, but he couldn't do that when the second time around when Dan Quinn got let go. So I
Correct.
just think that I just don't agree with it people could tell me that's how NFL teams doing. Rich McKay even mentioned that when we had the press conference. I was just like, dude, I just don't buy that because
Yeah,
at the end of the day, people got to be
no,
held accountable for
right,
what they do. The head
right,
coach is on the field every day, putting together practices, coming up with different schemes, coming up with the game plan and all that stuff. The general manager is sending out his scouts to whatever, to try to find players, handling the draft, putting together the draft board. So you mean to tell me both of those guys are going to be responsible for those things? Like, is Terry Fontenot out there coming up with game plans? So should he be held accountable if there's talent out on the field and I see talent that's out there on the field and they're
right.
going 7-10 and 7-10 and 7-10? Come on now.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then if you're saying if they have equal say so, then why you didn't fire both of them? So it's just too much gray area with Rich McKay and Arthur Blank. I just felt like y'all just made me more confused. It made me more confused than what I already was, but I'm gonna come up with my own conclusion. And my conclusion is that y'all not doing things the right way. And I don't trust y'all to make the right hire.
What is the right way? In your opinion, what is the right way? Because I know what I would say to
Head
that, but what
coach,
is your right way?
coaches, and the general manager go gets the players. That's
Okay.
it. Ain't no collaborative. I mean, true enough. I can listen to my head coach, and on if he likes a player or if
Right.
he likes a player a little bit more so than
Right.
I may like that player.
For
I'm
sure.
gonna take your input.
Mhm.
Me saying that I have the final say so doesn't mean that I'm not going to listen to you. But when you're talking about this whole collaborative stuff, that means tells me that, hey, who's gonna break the tie if that's the case? Is it
Who
Rich
has the final
McKay?
say so? Who has the
Right. Who
final
has
say?
the
Who has
final
the
say
final
so?
say?
Because somebody's got to make the decision. And if the Terry Fontenot ends up making that decision and Arthur Smith wasn't really feeling that guy, then who's to blame? Like who are we sitting up here pointing a finger at? Who put a stamp on Desmond Ritter and said he can be QB1?
I
Whoever
honestly
said
feel
that
like,
need to go.
and I
And you telling
honestly
me that's
feel
Arthur
like that
Smith?
was. I feel like that was Arthur Smith. Just being honest, I feel
And that's
due
fair.
to the
That's a fair assessment.
due to the mismanagement, and to your point, there could be somebody in the background doing the puppeteering or whatnot. You dig what I'm saying?
I wouldn't put it past him.
But you put your stamp on them. You put your name on the line.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to have seen him show a little more backbone if that's the case. But also be upfront. Don't piss on me and tell me it's raining. Because that's what the Falcons have been doing for the past few years. You
Mhm.
dig what I'm like, and what's so frustrating is that they expect for you, the media, you dig, to accept that. That's just not gonna cut it. Let's get into this really quickly because I'm looking at their schedule. Um, Multiple games, and this is something I've often said to the guys in the barbershop, to my brother. When you have this many number one draft picks on your offensive side of the ball,
Right.
you mean to tell me that you can only scrape out 7 wins? And I mean, oh my God, they were scratching them out like barely. And then some of the losses was just like laughable. The three loss span last year to the Titans, Vikings, and Cardinals, that made their year, in my opinion. That they could have
Mhm.
died or won that, and of course we all know what they did. But
Yeah.
you lose to the Titans 28-23.
Yeah.
You lose to the Vikings 31-28. You lose to the Cardinals 25-23. So we know that is there. We know that is possible. But then, and I always tell people, it's not about the people on the field at this point. It's about the ones who's leading them.
Yeah. And when you look at how, and that was kind of one of those things where in the first couple of years, that was looked at as a positive. Like, oh man, they only lost a few, most of their losses came in one score games. Most of their wins came in one score games.
Right,
So with
right,
with
right,
a depleted
right.
not a depleted roster, but like when you talk about having those salary cap
Mhm,
restrictions, which I still
mhm.
never bought into because the NFL is built for you to be able to turn things around within a
In a
year.
year's time, yeah.
It doesn't take that long in the NFL. That's what they want. They want parity, and that's why you have a hard salary cap. But I think overall, though, right now with this team and looking up where they're going and where they're coming from, it you would think that they would try to do some things differently. Um, but it just doesn't seem like that's what they're into. And then when you're talking about the Falcons being headstrong and moving forward, we're trying to hire a guy like Bill Belichick. And the rumor is Belichick still wants full control.
Now
I
that I
mean,
can
what
get
is
behind. That I can get behind. I would rather somebody
really
come. Listen,
Bill
I mean,
Belichick, the general manager?
not the general
Have you
manager,
seen
but
their
my my
roster?
my only point is that I'm tired of the collaborative effort. I'm tired of the collaborative effort. I'm tired of them saying, "All right, yeah, no, yeah, it's too many Chiefs and not enough Indians. Too many people adding too much of their
I
seasonings
feel
into
you.
the pot."
That's fair. That's fair.
And if that's the case,
But no, but
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 I'm with you on that.
that
Yeah,
shouldn't be given to a guy who is 72 years old. He's 9
correct,
years younger than the owner of the team, who we're
correct.
always hearing, well, he ain't got long to go. Well, he ain't gonna be around for so long, so he want to try to win the Super Bowl. But you're gonna hire some guy, somebody that's a few years younger than you to try to
Right,
get that done.
right.
I don't think that's gonna work. I just don't. I just
So
don't. Like
so
you
who's the
should.
coach? So who do you who like if you know how I always say, let's play GM
Yeah,
for
of
a day, right?
course.
Who would you have as the head
Is
coach, or
Terry
who
Fontenot
is on your
GM
list?
in this?
No, you. Jarvis
Oh,
Davis
I
is
am.
the
Okay.
GM. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, you're the GM.
Okay. So
Okay.
I actually can be the general manager. Okay.
I fired Rich McKay as CEO. Now I'm CEO of the Atlanta Falcons. All right. So now me and you are in the war room. Who becomes or who is on your list of coaches for the Atlanta Falcons?
Wow, man. To be honest with you, man, I know a lot of people look at the name that I'm about to say and saying, well, he failed as a head coach,
Mhm,
blah, 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 blah. I think that, but when you look at what that this guy was able to accomplish, I'm talking about Raheem Morris,
mhm.
he's one of the few Tampa Bay coaches to have a winning record within the past decade or so.
Correct.
So I understand looking at the records in those other years, but I think that it is time for him to get another opportunity to be a head coach because I just look at how he's handled his guys and not know from a rah-rah standpoint. I'm talking about from a teaching standpoint. The man is a
Mhm.
teacher. He can talk to the QB1 in a certain language, and he can talk to that undrafted guy trying to make the squad in a certain in a certain language, and everybody's going to be able to understand where he's coming from. So that's my number one guy. That's my dream scenario. I know it's probably not going to happen more than likely. I would love to be shocked and they hire a guy like Rob, but um, there's also the name that Ben Johnson. His name's been thrown around there. I mean, you can make Detroit that type of a good offense with Jared Goff. Hey, man, you got
Right.
to give him some credit, but I'm not excited about that. I
Right.
can see it potentially working because of the weapons that the Falcons have on the offensive side of the football, like you mentioned earlier. But I just
No
feel
Eric
like
Bieniemy.
if you're going, nah, I think Eric's time to be a head coach is past
Mm.
him. To be honest with you, I would love to see him get a shot.
I
I
mean,
just
because
don't want to see it in Atlanta.
the only reason I point that out, I mean, because the only reason I point that out, and to your point, your Raheem Morris is your guy, but Eric Bieniemy is my guy. Look at Kansas City.
As he
The
walked out
thing
the door,
about it
yep,
is
you
when
you preaching.
when he was leaving, you
Mhm.
heard many players saying that he's just too hard on people. He's just so mean, or or he grabs you by the face mask and he's old school, and then we ain't
Yeah.
got time for that type of coaching.
Okay.
He did it so that Patrick Mahomes didn't have to do it. He
Yeah.
did it so that Travis Kelce didn't have to slam his helmet on the sideline.
Yeah.
You don't, and also too, he did the dirty work so that Andy Reid didn't have to.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
miss me with all of this. Well, he's too old school. Maybe we need to start to return to some of that mentality.
You need there needs to be a certain level of it, right? You just can't
Right.
go
I agree.
from
I agree.
extremes. It can't be yeah, rawr, all in your face all
Mm-hmm.
the time, and
Mm-hmm.
then go to oh, it's gonna be okay. Yeah, like it has to be some balance, right? So,
Right.
so you have an Andy Reid who's a players coach, but you
Mhm.
also have Eric Bieniemy who's a hard
Who
but
holds people
but
accountable.
he's gonna hold people accountable. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good balance. So I think when him walking out the door, I think that's what you saw. You saw the non-discipline. Everybody tried to throw the wide receivers on the bus, but look who they had last year, and they won the Super Bowl. They won the whole thing last year. So
Mhm.
I think Airbnb. I wouldn't be upset. Let me make
Okay.
sure I said it.
All right.
I'm clear. I wouldn't be upset if they hired Eric Bieniemy, but the guy that if I had to come to you the CEO of the Falcons, and I'm just like, hey man, I need about $17 million a year.
Mhm.
Uh, let's go to take a trip up to Michigan
Mhm.
and let's see what Jim Harbaugh talking about because
Okay.
that's what makes sense. That's what makes sense to me
Right. He's been there,
because
but
the
he's done it
dude's a
before.
freaking winner, man. And if you are in a space where you aren't able to get just a top level quarterback, look at his reclamation projects. Alex Smith, he made Alex Smith look viable.
Yeah.
Alex Smith was a bust
Mhm.
before Jim Harbaugh stepped into his life, and then bringing in Colin Kaepernick as well. The way Cap was able to do, he was so innovative with that offense and just being able just to tough, being able to run the football. Just I think all around Jim Harbaugh will be good. Now people say, "Oh, you might burn out." Okay,
We
all
want to
right,
win now,
cool.
don't we?
You trying to win now, but I don't think Bill Belichick is the answer for that. That's why I feel like Jim Harbaugh. So that'll be my two. It'd be
Okay.
Raheem Morris first, and if you could give me if you saying I can back up the Brinks truck, I'm going to go get Jim Harbaugh.
Okay. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all know what time it is. It is me. He is I am him. I am he that they call the alpha male. Listen, I had to bring Jarvis on so we could talk about what uh, Chernobyl meltdown we had in Atlanta because it's just, I mean, 9-8 shouldn't be the record to win this division. Simple and plain. 9-8 should not be the record to win this division.
They could
But
have been 10-7
unfortunately,
easily.
easily, I told you 3 games in the middle of the season definitely could have won. Titans, Vikings, and Cards. Even 2 games would have at least put you in a position to win that.
If you put the quarterback on the ground in that Minnesota and Arizona game,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no.
Jalen Carter could have done that.
Yep. Yeah. And again, they vehemently in the beginning of the season during the draft, they said, we ain't going after him. Well, no. Let's go
Okay,
get Calais Campbell.
sure. Yeah.
Hey man, I appreciate you, brother, man. Thank you for stopping by, bro. Definitely, guys, y'all make sure y'all check him out on Locked On Sports. Also, check him out on all his social medias, Jarvis D90. You dig what I'm saying? Ladies and gentlemen, you all know what time it is. It is me. He is I, and I am him. I am he that they call the alpha male. Peace.